Theme song. Oops. In three, two, one. All right, we're gonna redo that. Theme song in three, two, one. And welcome back to the Constitutionals podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. We got an interview today. Jenny Zigrino. God, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I've been saying it in my head for the past 2 weeks I've had this thing. Or a week and a half. Yeah, a week and a half. Actually, week. Today's Monday. I forgot what day I did this. It was recorded a week ago. I forgot that how to pronounce the name. What was I doing? What was the bit? Anyway, Jenny Zigrino has a new comedy album coming out called Gen Z. Now, the special is already out. The special you can go ahead, check out on youtube.com. If you just look up Gen, Jen hyphen Z. You can watch it on the Comedy Central. Jesus, this is what happens when you click things. You can watch it on the Comedy Central stand-up YouTube page. But now you can also, April 14th, check out the audio version that'll be out. And the traditional form in the ways that you can listen to it. Spotify, I assume. Apple Music. YouTube Music. Wherever you listen to your comedy specials in audio form. You can buy it via now. You can buy it now, pre-order style, from Blonde Medicine. This is the second album, I believe, that Jenny has done. It was recorded at Brooklyn's Littlefield during the New York Comedy Festival. She talks about everything. Mostly boomers and Gen Z kids. Boomer old people. Gen Z kids. She's in her mid-30s. And she's a funny comedian. She's also Russian, is what I learned from the special. Watch it. She explains it. Her dad's a conspiracy theorist. And she has a lot of advice for Gen Z children. From her millennial self. Like I said, the the video version is available on YouTube right now via Comedy Central. April 14th, you can find the comedy album everywhere that it is streamed or sold via Blonde Medicine. Check it out. It's a great conversation, and we don't talk a lot about comedy. But you know what? We have a great conversation. Gen Z. Okay. I'm going to throw to that conversation now. I'm breaking down the things. Oh, hold on. If you want to follow Jen online, you can do so at the following places. You can follow her on Instagram at Jenny Zigrino. You can follow her on Twitter at Jenny Zigrino. And I'm going to pretend that Facebook, you can follow her there. The same thing, comedian Jenny Zigrino. Check her out on all those places. Okay, you can follow us, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at C Plus Comedy. Follow me on all those places at Chad Black White. Tell your friends about this thing because it continues to happen. Okay, now we throw to the thing. Goodbye. I love the hair.
All right,
Look at
let's
the new
go.
hairdo. Very hot pink.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's faded a little bit. It was more magenta before. I have to go get it redyed. You get it.
Yeah, definitely. Why
Yeah.
did you decide to change it up?
I wanted to do it for a long time. But it was like I had blonde in 2019, and then we were gonna go pink, and then the pandemic happened. And then while I was in the pandemic, I did green, and then it just like slowly faded out, and I just never. It's like when you do it, you have to then get new headshots. So it's like $500 for the hair, then new headshots are $500.
Uh,
It's like I never had $1,000 just to throw around.
Yeah. Does that like they really affect like different hair colors that really affect acting
Oh
choices?
yeah,
Wow, that sucks.
definitely. Yeah, I'm not getting mom roles with this
Is that what you want now at
unless it's like
36? You want
cool
mom rolls?
mom. Well, I'm 36, so I get mom roles now.
Oh God, what has Hollywood done to us? Just
It's a terrible place. I don't know why we're here.
yeah. Or do you live in LA or New York?
I live in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Ah, okay. City of
Where are
Angels.
you? New York?
I'm actually in Atlanta, if you can't tell
Oh,
the
perfect.
the space
Atlanta's
I
way
have
better.
here.
Looks like you have a good amount of space.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's bigger than it's at least two New York apartments, and I've never been to New York, so take that as you will.
Oh, so you can't throw stones at that glass house? Come
I,
on.
I can't. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I've been to San Jose, so that's kind of like Los Angeles.
I'm- no, San
It's
Jose
on the
is so different.
yeah. Los Angeles is
It's
down
so
here.
just the vibe is different. The whole vibe. It's all about the vibes out here. And that's a different vibe. San Jose, way different vibe.
Yeah. I mean,
But
I
I'll
can
give it to you. I'll give it to
thank you. I've traveled to two different places.
you.
Congrats on the new special. It's
Thank
I watched
you.
I didn't watch the whole thing, I'm not gonna lie, but I
It's
did watch
okay.
about half of it. So half of it, I
Great.
got half your humor. It's really great. I when you said it was like crowdfunded that or not crowdfunded, but yeah, but everybody brought together money and everything. I think that was a very cool way to get the special going. That's a very I mean we've had crowdfunded specials before, but people don't
Mm-hmm.
typically say, "Hey, this was made by you." They kind of treat it as a typical regular special, and for you to come out and say like this is made by you for you and thank you for it, then
Mm-hmm.
that really feels like it's something special.
Oh yeah. It was a mix of all of fans, family, friends, some of the government, OnlyFans, like wherever I could get money for this is where I could find money.
Uh-huh. There was OnlyFans, and I'm not trying to be a pervert, but was that a particularly uh, uh, plentiful route to make money from?
It was, and I don't do nudity on there. So it was just like basically thirst traps. And it
Uh-huh.
was kind of this thing of like, oh, you mean I've just been like giving these thirst traps away for free and I
Yeah.
can just charge people money for them? That sounds way more lucrative. And it is nice too. I think that like, you know, we live in this social media age where you don't have to look a certain way now to be seen as like a some like I don't want to say sexual object because there's definitely more, but a sex symbol, we'll say that.
Right.
Um, that you know there's so much diversity in what people like and the stuff that's out there. So it was kind of nice to be like, oh, I can like actually like have a sustained career like feeling sexy and having people be like, yeah, you are sexy and
Yeah.
validate my sexiness, which is the whole reason to do it is for validation.
Yeah.
That's why I
Truly.
do
Yeah.
it.
I get it. I started a LinkedIn podcast. It's very stupid, but I'm trying to become the best linked influencer, as I call it. And
Yeah.
in the last episode, I started a little B story where I made an OnlyFans, and I built the OnlyFans right there in the middle of the podcast. It's also a video podcast, and so now I'm doing it as a joke, but I mean I might do it. I might as well just put up shirtless pics of myself because I
But
feel
you don't have, that's the thing though, is OnlyFans isn't just for that stuff. It can also just be you playing video games and people watching you play video games, right?
Mhm.
So it's like they just take a lot of money. Like they take 20% versus a Patreon, which takes like 5 to 7, I think.
Yeah.
There's other things you can do if you don't want to. It's just, yeah, it is like they let people do more. And so I could have a Patreon and just charge people $5 a month for like some salacious photos, but I'm lazy.
Yeah, and I think Patreon in California takes a little bit more than the typical amount of percentage, but I mean that's neither here nor there. But I look, like I said, all for everybody making their money, just go ahead and do it, except for TikTokers. I don't think that they're legitimate business people.
Some of them are. I feel bad that I never got on. I didn't really like blow up during the pandemic when I could have. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I just didn't put in the effort and I should have put in
Yeah.
more effort into that. It's like as comedians, when I first started out, people were shitting on YouTube people and then they all blew up, and then they're like they are the new celebrity. Like I don't know most of them, but if you're in the internet culture world, like Mr. Beast, that's it. That's the only
I was gonna say name one more. Name one more,
I don't
please.
know anymore. But you know them and like, and I think that like starting stand up is there was so much of it was like uh comedians shitting on it, I mean like it's not real, but it's like it's so legit and TikTok's legit. It's gonna be gone soon, but like it's
Yeah.
legit,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, it's I mean, we're both in our 30s, and it's insane to see, how HBO and Comedy Central were the only bastions for stand up. And then at some
Mm-hmm.
point, Netflix released a stand up special every Tuesday for a year straight. And then after that, now there's stand up specials everywhere from YouTube to broadcast and cable and streaming. And it's I do think that it's hard to keep up. Congrats to all the people that can keep up, but there's so many different sectors of fandom and entertainment that it just
Mm-hmm.
it'll take more effort than it should to stay on top of everything. And I think that, I
Yeah.
mean, truth be told, I think if you just keep uploading your Instagram videos, for instance, to TikTok, that's the same stuff. That's the same stuff that's already excelling on TikTok
Yeah.
versus somebody who has to cut a video for TikTok, cut a video for Instagram, cut a video for YouTube
Yeah.
and Facebook and everything. It's small wonders out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it can all kind of like, you stagger stuff and I'm trying to hire an assistant now because it's just so much of your work as a comedian now is admin and like posting and that stuff. The creative process gets lost in it a lot. So
Yeah.
that's like my next step is like, okay, I'm gonna set aside, you know, 5 hours a week to some assistant to do all my admin because I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. And I think that's a viable position for any comedian that has a decent following.
Yeah.
So this is your second album, but your first special, correct?
No, so it's my first hour. So I did the half hours of Comedy Central in 2017. And then I've done like the little satellite shows and like little 10-minute videos on YouTube, which have been really fun. And then this is my first hour. So that was taped. So I've done, it's my second album, so second hour, but first special taped hour.
Okay. Yeah, that's I saw
That
I
was a
saw
long
the
way to be like, no, you're wrong.
no, I mean, I love being proved wrong. I just love it. I saw the on Apple Music that you have that first album is up there, Jay-Z's new album. And I gotta
Yes.
tell you, the naming conventions for these are fantastic. Like I love a good joke within a name. It's Chris Rock had Bigger and Blacker, and then David Cross had Bigger and Blacker, and like in this
Yeah.
one, Jay-Z's new album is just it's like if somebody is just cursory, looking for Jay-Z's new album, they'll see that, and now you have Gen Z with your name. I love it. I love a
Yeah.
play on words.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we'll see what the next one, what weird title I'm gonna give the next one.
So you seem very relaxed on stage. You had, there were points when I was watching the special where you just had your hand in your pocket as if you were strolling down the street and picked up the mic and just started talking. How long did it take you to find your voice and be comfortable and just be yourself on stage?
I think I'm still finding it in certain ways. Um, I think I'm just a very conversationalist on stage. Like I'm not like a one-liner and I'm telling you stories. I'm trying to engage you more versus like a character. I mean, it is an exaggerated sense of self, but I think it just, I've been doing it for, I think we're coming on my 14th year or 15th year of doing stand-up. 2008. What is it? This is 15 years? I don't know.
8 plus 15 would be 2026, right?
No.
Look, I'm not good at math.
2018 was 10 years. So yeah, 15 years.
Okay.
So yeah, this is my 15th year of doing stand-up. And I just feel like, you just eventually kind of go into your voice, but then your voice changes too. Like, I'm sure if I get married and have kids, it's gonna be a whole new set of jokes and a whole new set vibe of like who I am now. I think like lately I feel like my voice has gotten maybe a little angrier, a little more annoyed of just like, guys, what are we doing? You know?
Okay. Well, expand, elaborate on that. What's the guys are we doing? What are we doing? What is that? What does that feel?
Like I'm talking more about political things. I'm talking more about social change. I'm talking more about, pointing out hypocrisies. So I feel like my voice has gone from I'm being cute and cheeky and fun to I'm being cute and cheeky and fun, but also what are we doing? Come on. We all can see how stupid this is or how like dumb this is, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Do
Like
you
working on a new bit about pronouns where it's like when people are like grammar doesn't change, it's like, well, then why are you still using you? Like thou and thy and they and thine were used forever and then they're not anymore. So, like grammar changes all the time. That's all grammar does is change, to reflect societal changes. So you're just being a little, curmudgeony bitch, not letting it change because, politically, that's it. So it's
Yeah.
just like I like to talk about social stuff at this point.
Yeah.
And also too, I like to talk about um embarrassing sex stuff because that's always fun.
Social stuff and embarrassing sex stuff. Now, do you think that the slow change in societal conventions, do you think that's like we're at a point of upheaval, especially because we had a president and who basically turned more than half of the country into people that think they can voice their opinions and not like catch any negativity about it, even though they're wrong. Like, do you think that that is something that was a long time coming, and that comedians in the positions that they are and entertainers, that they can help usher in a new age of acceptance and tolerance and being and talking about it at any point?
Well, it kind of feels like the loudest voices currently aren't doing that. They're kind of, I feel like, keeping us stuck in those positions. So it's like these really big, loud voices that could be ushering in really good change don't want to because what got them there is the status quo, right?
Right.
So if someone like Joe Rogan starts being more empathetic to trans people or to okay, here's an example. Let's say that Joe Rogan starts looking into the world of like fat phobia, body diversity, um the idea of like fat acceptance and body positivity, those things that we're changing and now we're kind of going away from them. If he accepted those, he would be out of a job because he pushes supplements. He pushes all this idea that like you have to get fit and your body has to look a certain way and you have to take my supplements or else you won't look that way. So a lot of the things that these people um that are supposed to be our philosophers of change or whatever don't want it because it just keeps them in power.
Yeah.
Bill Maher has a specific types of audience. I'm not watching Bill Maher. People younger than me aren't watching Bill Maher. But if he changes his way, he's going to lose that audience. So, at the end of the day, it's like you got to find where the money's coming from. And I think with like Trump and his followers is he's just tuning into a fear of change that is very strong. A fear of change, and also he's tapping into the it's it's like we all kind of feel the same thing of like there's not a, like the rich are fucking us. We are basically, uh we're not paid enough. We are healthcare is garbage, but instead of being like, oh, it's the people in power that are doing this, it is um the person of color next to you. Right? They're the reason you can't have health insurance. Or it's the fat person is the reason that your health premiums are so high, not because we have a system that rewards, insurance companies. So I would like to talk about that stuff in my material coming up
Yeah.
as more of an adult of like trying to open people's eyes, but what do I know? I'm just a dick joke slinging bitch.
No, I mean, but it's funny because you're allowed to talk about anything you want as much as the next comedian. And even though there are audience members and other comedians who say you probably can't talk about that stuff. And it's funny that you mentioned Bill Maher and Joe Rogan because they are the two loudest voices of this kind of and I think they would say that they're on our side, but they're doing it in a different way. And it's a way that they deem better. But it just doesn't make sense because you and I think one thing, and then they think this other thing, and they think it's going to lead
Mm-hmm.
to the same type of ending where it's like, they lead with pitchforks and knives, and we're leading with, no, let's talk about this. Let's hold on, guys. Let's not kill each other first.
But I don't think we should talk about it. Dude, like I kind of think like the time for us talking about stuff and trying to find common ground. It's crazy when you're trying to find common ground who thinks that you actually shouldn't exist. It's like oh, this is great. It's the paradox of tolerance, where basically how do you tolerate people who don't think that you should exist? How do you give that person understanding and tolerance to their views when their views are in a opposition of you being alive?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Right? So it's like, how do you talk to someone who just fundamentally doesn't believe that? How do I talk to someone about abortion rights as a woman, that I should have the right to my own body? Just someone who just believes that the life of the fetus is more important than my own life.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to find it, especially because it's usually steeped in religion. So it's like, how do I find that common? It's like that we're not going to find that common ground. The same way they can't convince me of their shit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, okay, if it's like one thing to be like someone being like, well, I think that, minimum wage should be this and that. It's like, okay, well, we should talk about that, even though I think that impacts people's lives a lot. But it's like, yeah, no, the idea that there are people out there who think that gay people shouldn't exist and should just stop doing what they're doing, you can't talk to them.
Yeah.
And I think as sometimes as left people, I'm like, man, we're like we're bringing our knives to this gunfight, and they have so many guns.
Oh,
They
they
have
have
so
so many
many guns.
AR-15s, the rest of the ones that I can't name. If somebody can
Yeah, this
name,
is where Jenny gets on a podcast and goes, we need to fight in a revolution.
yeah, if anyone can name
Everyone.
more than one type of gun, I call the police on them immediately.
There's
Ooh, you
the
just said a
9 mil
yeah, ooh, boy.
Saturday Night Special. That's a cute little one. Um, AR-15 at what's it?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? That's three, two and a half, maybe.
We did it.
We'll
Call
leave
the
it at that.
police on me.
Now I can't. They wouldn't arrest you. Now
I
these
know. I'm sorry. Sorry.
the last couple of minutes have reminded me. Your special. It you're like Gen Z. You're talking to these people that are younger than you. That are not in the millennial bracket, but that generation younger, and it feels like the special feels like a love letter to them, and it's kind of like a teaching moment, just saying, "Hey, these are the things you need to be prepared for when you
Hmm.
turn certain ages." Did you feel as though you needed to give them this amount of time to like talk to them and prepare them for the world?
I felt like this special was to talk to all the generations, right? Because we did get such a generational divide when we were in the pandemic. And there is stuff about Gen Z where I was just like, man, I don't like it. I don't like you. I don't like this part about you, but I also hope the best for you. And there are parts about like boomer culture where I was like, you guys, thank you, but you got us here in some ways,
Yeah.
And I think we are getting maybe out of the woods of like being able to blame boomers because they're all starting to they're in their 70s and 80s. They're starting to go. So then it's like, okay, millennials, what are we doing? What are we doing to like make things better? And I think that's next to talk about is what is my generation gonna do
Yeah.
now? Because I can complain about Gen Z, I can complain about boomers and Gen Xers, but we're the ones that have power now. We're 36.
Yeah.
I'm 36. I mean, millennials are 42 and 42 to 30 at this point.
Yeah. It's I it's so funny because boomers were really organized and Gen Z is very organized, and then millennials were just in this purgatory of, we're all split. There's different factions. Some voted for Bernie Sanders, some didn't vote, some voted for Trump, some voted for Biden. It's all just, and some even voted for Kanye. And then, it's all seems very disorganized, and as if
Yeah.
like no one can agree on at least just two different paths for us to go down.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I think that I tried to be more silly in my things about Gen Z because I don't actually hate Gen Z. They're fine. I'm just, this is just what happens when you get older, is you just don't like the next generation below you. I think that the stuff like with AI and et cetera is going to be really dangerous. And I do have that fear of like their their desire to be famous and be an influencer is really bad, but I'm also an influencer. So,
Well, when
you
did you
know,
decide, like, because I knew from when I was a very young child that I wanted to write. I still have my old comics. I have my first books I wrote when I was, 10 years old. And so I guess, fame was a part of it, but it was never the end goal. It was just something I can do, make money,
yeah.
make a living. And now I do this where I make no money, but I freelance for, whatever company that wants me to.
Yeah,
Is it for you when you started out, when did the dream of doing stand up become it? Like when was that?
I
When did
was
that start
12.
for you? 12. Okay. And
Hmm.
how did that begin? Did you see somebody that you
I just used to
liked?
watch stand up when I was a kid. I used to just watch a lot of it, and I always liked comedy. And I put in a book report when I was 12 that I wanted to be a stand up comedian, either that or an archaeologist. Those are my two choices. Um, and yeah, so I just always had wanted to do it, and I didn't know it was really like a job you could have till I was, you know, probably like in my, I don't know, like mid 20s. It was like, oh, I can actually make money doing this. But I did it when I was 15, stopped, started again when I was 18, stopped, and then picked it up again when I was 21, and then never stopped.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, when you're 12, no one wants to know. No one wants to know what a 12-year-old wants is actually thinking, or a 15-year-old. It's gross. And no one wants to hear that.
Are you kidding me? I think you and I could produce the very first stand-up special for Nickelodeon. I think that would be so bad.
No, I'm not clean at all in any way, shape, or form. At 15, I was definitely not a clean comic at all. It was such a start. I was like, I want to say this, and my teacher at the time was like, you can't. You're 15.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to know about that from a 15-year-old. And
I
I was
mean,
like,
it's
but
like,
I want to talk about it.
I mean, at least you wanted to like talk about something at 15 versus, I think when stand up started or when comedy started, it was kind of like standards, like musicians, like you would sing "Come Fly with Me," like 40 different musicians would sing that, and then 40 different
Yeah.
musicians would tell the story, like my wife and I were going down on a
Yeah.
jolly drive, and so
Yeah.
it just wouldn't work. But at least you had something to say.
Yeah, I always felt like it was such a good opportunity to actually say stuff. And that's why I think like for me, clean comedy and like one-liners just never interested me because it felt such watered down and like not real. And what I loved about the comedians I always loved were storytellers and like talked about real things. Like I'm trying to think who like I loved when I was younger, when I was very young. I really liked comedians who were talking about their lives. Like I remember watching the Sinbad. He would be on Comedy Central all the time. Sinbad, Paula Poundstone. Um, who else would I watch all the time? Just like these comedians that were like they were talking about their lives and their thoughts and like, it wasn't like Ellen and Seinfeld were talking about airplanes and Sinbad was talking about getting period pads for his mom.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Like it was just so different, and that's what I always liked about it. And that's what I like about the stuff that I do is I'm like very honest. And some of it's not. Sometimes I just want people to know that like some of the stuff I talk about is not it didn't actually happen to me. I'm joining together four different things that happened into one story. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's what
you
comedy
know.
is. Yeah. I think, yeah, some people have to take
Yeah.
some stories as like a grain of salt. Sometimes it can be a little bit more grandiose,
Yeah.
but as long as you seem like you have something to say and you have a passion for it, as long as you use that correctly, then I think you're going to be in the clear and at a great point at all
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I also want to talk about your sets with Corden and Conan. Like you had, it's not often that we see late night stand up anymore. You were like on Conan. That's the last show, the last late night show that had stand up regularly, like at least once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And now you like
Yeah.
it's so tough because Fallon has it like every couple of what seems like weeks. Corden
Yeah.
has it what seems like every couple of months, and those are the only two that still have it. It must feel you must feel. I'm just imparting my feelings about that on you. How does that like? Because that for me that's like a bastion long gone. Because that used to be a big part of Carson and Letterman and Leno and all that. So how did that crossing that threshold in the comedy, did that solidify you as like a comedian of a certain note?
I think so. I think like I was on Conan a total of four times, three were aired.
Yeah.
The third time they asked me, they were testing out the new stage and they were like, we just need you to test it. And I was like, cool, I'll come test it. Which was nice. And then yeah, and then like being on Corden because Conan at the time was on cable. So Corden is my first network
Right.
um credit. And it did take a long time to get there. It took like, almost a year. Um, and
Is it because of
yeah,
traffic?
just like because of traffic, it took me a year to drive there. It's just like it feels good. It's just like as a comedian, you get these little milestones that maybe they seem really huge, right? Like getting Corden seems like such a big deal to someone who's not doing it. For a comedian, it's like, cool, I did it. Check it off the list. Now we keep going.
Right.
And I'm like so grateful. It was great. James was really sweet. He actually came and talked to us for a while. And I think too, for me, I have the whole joke about being fat is not being ugly.
Mhm.
And especially I think I think for me, being able to do that in front of a fellow larger bodied comedian who, has gotten shit for the way they looked, it was like really nice. It was like, yeah, man, you get this. And he got it. And he like came and talked to me. He's like, I relate to that. Like that was thank you for doing that kind of vibe. Which, really I was like, oh yeah, that's why I do this. It's because someone is going to be like, thank you for telling that joke. It was really relatable for me, right? Like, thank you for telling the joke about, um, body positivity because, XYZ, whatever. Um, so that was really great. And yeah, it's just like it's little milestones. And then the hour special's out and it's great. And it's been a week and it's been doing well. And it's on to the next thing.
Yeah. That's what happens. That's stand up. You can't like sit and relish in things for too long because you have to keep moving. I think it is stand up
Yeah.
has to be the most uh not ADD prone. I don't want to use that, buzz phrase, but you gotta move quick. It's like being a rat. You gotta go
Yeah.
from one place to the next. I don't know why I called you rat, but
Yeah. You have to move around a lot. And two is you can't like I've had like a don't tell clip get like 17 million views. And you're like, it's gonna change something. And it doesn't normally change things.
yeah,
It gets you more followers. But
right.
like stand up feels like one of those things, except for like a select few where you're putting in so much work for so long until it hits. Like someone like Bill Burr, who has was a successful comedian before he even hit.
Yeah,
But it's like, um, yeah, it just like takes time.
yeah. I'm glad you understand that. I'm glad you get it. I'm glad both of
Yeah,
us get it.
we're doing it. But
We're
yeah, and
doing
like I think you're lucky, I'm lucky, we both knew our calling early on. I feel bad for people who don't,
it. Yeah.
you know? People were just still like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I'm like, I don't know. I like feel like my shit was like preordained by God.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like, yeah, there was a book that somebody opened up the page to and said, comedian, producer,
Yep,
that's how it goes.
yep,
Well,
yep.
Jenny, I feel like I've taken up enough of your time. I very much appreciate it. And I just want
Thank
to say
you.
congratulations on Gen Z. I know it's the audio version's out on April 14th, right?
April 14th, the album drops through
Okay.
Blonde Medicine. You can follow me on all this stuff, Jenny Zigrino, on pretty much everything. TikTok's Jenny Zigrino Comedy.
Yeah, yeah. And it's an easy last name to find. So
Yeah.
because it's so different. Like it's just easy. You can't like you Google Chad White and you find, multiple different men around the
Yeah.
country who are all schlubby, and then you get to this guy.
A little less schloppy.
That's right. That's all we're aiming for is a little less schlubby. Well, thanks again, Jenny. I appreciate it. And you have a good rest of your week.
Well, thanks so much. It was nice talking to you.
It was nice talking to you too. Bye.
Bye.